The Exorcist Believer. Let's talk about it. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Movie Emporium's movie review of The Exorcist Believer, the newest film from director David Gordon Green. Okay, so The Exorcist Believer is the official sequel to the original Exorcist movie that basically sees the main kind of demonic creature come back in the form of two young girls. These two young girls go out, they get lost, they disappear for 3 days, and they return with possessed demonic stages in their soul and body. And the parents of these two young children have to figure out a way to get rid of the demonic character that is Pazuzu, I guess, in this world. And so they bring characters like Ellen Burstyn into the mix, who of course was the original mother from the first film, and a bunch of other priests and, shamans and so on and so forth to get rid of the demonic possession, while these two girls basically wreak havoc on the world of these two family members. And it also stars Leslie Odom Jr. and Dowd and a whole bunch of other people that you may or may not have heard of. So with that said, The Exorcist is not what I would call my favorite horror film of all time, but it's considered probably one of the most influential horror films of all time. It's considered one of the most scariest films of all time, and it's a film that a lot of people truly love. Now, with that said, I understand the appeal of it. I'm a huge Halloween fan, and that's one of the most influential slasher horror films of all time. So you have people who love that, or The Shining, or like I said, The Exorcist, which is the late William Friedkin movie, and I get it. It has great moments in it, but it's like Pulp Fiction in a lot of ways, where I understand the appeal, but it's just not my cup of tea when it comes to the genre it's defining. But you cannot not admit how influential the film truly is. And so there's been quite a few Exorcist films come out, and for varying degrees, they're either really bad or mediocre. A lot of people like Exorcist 3. There's a lot of good scare moments in that. Exorcist 2 is considered one of the worst films ever made. And Exorcist, the prologue or prequel or whatever, the beginning is not a very good film. There's two different versions of it. And I've been honest in my opinion of David Gordon Green recently. I think he kind of ruined the Halloween franchise. I think he tried to make something different, which is perfectly all right, but it wasn't what I wanted. It had a lot of weird things, especially the tone, the idea of what Jamie Lee Curtis's Laurie Strode was doing. I just didn't like where David Gordon Green and Jason Blum went with the franchise. And so when I heard that he was doing the Exorcist sequel, in essence, the official Exorcist sequel, I was like, man, I feel bad for the Exorcist fans, people who have been kind of screwed over in the last decades of this franchise with the films they've been put out. And I honestly didn't think David Gordon Green was going to deliver on this film, and so that leads to my honest review of this movie. And I can honestly say that you may like this film, but it's not a very good film. It's a very boring film. It's a very sluggish film. It's a film that takes forever to get going. It's a film that doesn't have any of the beats or any of the kind of creativity that the original film had. And it feels like it's a very much a lesser film, like the other sequels and prequels or whatever you want to call it of the Exorcist franchise. And once again, it doesn't mean I hate David Gordon Green as a director, because I really don't, but I just don't think he's the right director for these types of films. I don't think The Exorcist needed a sequel. I don't think Halloween ever needed a sequel, but these directors and writers and producers feel that they do. There's going to be 2 more films in this trilogy, because apparently David Gordon Green only does trilogies when it comes to horror franchises. But I guess I don't get it. I don't understand what the purpose of this film is. It doesn't add anything new. It's not interesting. It's not horrifying. It tries to have jump scares. It does the whole idea of The Exorcist in general was never the jump scares. It was the idea of how creepy and unsettling, and the idea of you're losing your faith, and what does that mean, and the idea of what would happen if your child was put into mortal danger. And this movie doesn't have any of that. It tries, but I think it tries in the film, especially the two young girls who have a lot to do and a lot of weight on their shoulders, but it's not successful. And then you're bringing back Ellen Burstyn, who played the mother in the original film, and she adds absolutely nothing to this film. This is another film where it's a sequel, and basically it brings back a legacy character, and it feels like it's such a misguided idea. Reagan's mother, Chris, she was one of those people that was just so caught off guard and so kind of put into this precarious situation and just this horrifying situation. Here it's like, oh, we just want her to come back because we feel like we could have a legacy character to make more money on the movie. And where her character goes in this movie, it's so haphazardly done. It's so just kind of, once again, misguided. I felt like it was such a missed opportunity, and she didn't even need to be in the movie. Maybe pop up, like, she pops up in like TV spots and stuff like that, or the book, or maybe she has a cameo, but they bring her in for a specific reason for this movie. And I'm not going to spoil, this is a non-spoiler review, so I'm not going to spoil anything, but it doesn't work. It doesn't need to happen. I read a tweet or a twit post or something like that, where it basically said, this movie could just not been called The Exorcist and probably would have worked a lot better. And that's how I feel too. The father, the main father, Leslie Odom Jr. he feels like he is trying to be a good father, but there's things that have happened in his life that are portrayed in this movie which don't make any sense. The kind of way he positions himself and the way he is put into this movie doesn't make a lot of sense. And it's just a lot of these characters. The idea of using faith in this movie is what the Exorcist is known for, and it's such a weird campy feel and tone to it. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. And it goes places and it does things, and there are some unsettling, creepy moments which I do appreciate, but it's just not enough. It really is. It just doesn't work on a fundamental storytelling level, and therefore I don't think it's as bad as The Exorcist Heretic. I don't think it's as bad as the beginning, but it is definitely not a very good film, and it's unfortunate. It is what it is, but like I said, I got to be honest. Even though The Exorcist is not my favorite film or something that I truly love, I appreciate how creative and interesting and horrifying and chaotic that film became, and the idea of losing your religion and the idea of possibly losing your kid, and just how effective that can be on the mentality of the individual. There's none of that here. It really isn't. It's kind of misguided, unfortunately. But if I did say something positive, it looks pretty. It's a very well directed when it comes to the visual look to it. The makeup's really good. I think the characters, especially Dowd and Leslie Odom Jr., are fine. They do a competent job, but it goes very places that I don't really care for. So overall, just not a fan of The Exorcist Believer. Once again, you might like it. That's some people will. It's the way these horror films present themselves. But no, going in, that it's just not a film that I recommend, even for Exorcist fans. So there you go. Anyways, with that said, that is going to be my take on The Exorcist Believer. Thank you so much for watching. Comments below. What is your take on The Exorcist? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Are you looking forward to this film? All that good stuff. Let me know in the comments. Otherwise, if you like what you see on the channel, hit the subscribe button to join Movie Emporium. Hit that notification bell. Top the fun's coming next. If you like this video, awesome. Hit that like button. And as always, we'll see you guys on the next video. Peace out.